who's steering your ship. What I mean by who's steering your ship is that we're in charge of ourselves. We're in charge of the things we think about, the things we do, and the pictures that we have in our heads, in our minds, in our thoughts. And I know we're living in an incredibly scary, scary time where it's triggering so many fears in so many people, everybody, really. And we're having to learn how to manage ourselves and our time in a very, very different way. And I know that it's been a big, big concern for a lot of people around the fact that they've been eating more. I've been eating more and eating junkier foods. And that's why I want to share with you my insights in why that really doesn't matter a damn, that it's not the food that you have to look at, but it's what you're consuming in your media, with your friends, with your family. It's all of those things that you are taking in, that you're inviting into your thoughts that are affecting your eating. The social media, the news, the people you're talking to, the friends you're talking to, the family members you're talking to. Everybody has a different take on what's going on nowadays with COVID and all of the changes that we're all living through. You can go in one direction and you can find yourself hitting a wall of fear, anger, sadness, overwhelm, depression, and you can flip and turn in another direction and feel hopeful, excited, exhilarated, fascinated, passionate. And it may not feel like it, but the choice is up to you. And I had that realization and awareness today when I was sitting and having lunch with my son. And yesterday, I sent a broadcast to my list and I took a picture of me with my favorite bag of popcorn and my favorite orange jelly candies. The two foods that I keep in my house all the time that are like my pacifiers. And I keep them in what I call the binge bucket in the bottom of my pantry closet. And when I find myself going for those things, particularly the orange jellies, it's like an alarm bell that goes off in my head. Ding, 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 ding. Sweetie, you need to take better care of yourself. You're reaching for the bottom of the barrel. So I sent that message to my broadcast yesterday, taking that picture of me with the popcorn and the orange jellies for a very specific reason. I'm on a number of Facebook groups and I read a lot of posts, and also on my own 30-day Loving the Skin You're In Facebook group, I'm getting messages from a lot of women sharing the fact that they've steadily been gaining weight and they're feeling absolutely frustrated and disgusted and angry with themselves during this time. And what I want to tell you is it is so, so essential that we change the focus from needing to lose weight to getting healthy. And in the process of getting healthy, it's going to require some changes from you. It's going to require some modification of your behaviors. And I'm not talking about, smacking your hand if you go to open the refrigerator or you eat something that, you shouldn't have eaten during a period of time when you don't think you should have eaten it or anything like that. And I'm talking to my intermittent fasters. But But what I want you to realize, it's really all about what's going on in here, in your head, not in your mouth, but in your head. So the story behind the inspiration for today's message, who's steering your boat, is that today I sat down and it's been a tough day. Sunday, I'm not usually glammed up, but I'm especially casual today. And it's been a slow moving day. And I slept for a long part of the day. And I came and I had lunch around 3 o'clock. And I had like a usual lunch for me. It was some potato salad that I made Thursday, and a really nice salad with some chickpeas and some croutons, olive oil and vinegar dressing, and some artichokes. I'm a vegetarian by choice. I'm really happy. And I sat down, and as I did, my son joined me, and he started talking. And I found out yesterday, we all as a family found out yesterday, that one of our neighbors and friends, my fellow Girl Scout leader, Annalyn, she's a nurse in the Bronx, has COVID, and she's dealing with that. And I was talking with PT, my son, and we were talking about that. And then from there, as I mentioned, I've been feeling a little down, a little, definitely not my usual like chipper self, because I mean, come on, look at what's going on in our lives. So much stuff is hitting us so fast, so hard, all the time. So as I shared in my broadcast, my eating has completely changed. And this particular meal for lunch, it was like fine, like eating what I would normally eat. And I'm sitting down with PT on some Brussels sprouts. Sitting down with PT, and I'm kind of picking at my food. And my son is fascinated by the news, and he feels it's incredibly important to be on top of it all the time. And as I shared in my broadcast, I don't feel that way. Both he and my husband Angel, whenever they talk about things that are upsetting to me, I go the other direction. I tend to go down to my office, which is here, which is my safe space, my quiet space. So I was sitting and having lunch with PT, and we were talking, and he started out the conversation. We talked a little bit about Annalyn, and then he started talking about what was going on. And he said, well, there's some really good news about, New York, that the curve is flattening. And then he shared some other things that were not so positive. And as I sat, I didn't really do much talking. As I sat and listened to him, it kind of became really alive in my awareness what was going on. And as I noticed that my feelings, my mood had changed from feeling kind of neutral about, sitting down, having lunch, and, I've got some work to do. Talking to him, it became very clear to me that I was becoming increasingly anxious and upset. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm not really taking care of myself. The moment that the conversation started to swing in a direction that was in any way triggering of upset or fear or reasons for me to be anxious, I It would have been a lot better for me to have pulled in the reins and said, whoa, 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 let's stop talking about this. But I didn't. And I just let him kind of prattle on. And I noticed that I was getting more and more and more upset. And what I realized is I was thinking about the letters that you've been writing to me, and the women who have reached out and said they're struggling with eating more. And I realized, I get it. I get it. This is why. Because we've been focused for so long thinking that food is the problem, that being fat is the problem, that the problem is all outside of ourselves, right? But that's not the case. The reality is that we're in charge of our thoughts. We're in charge of who we spend time with. We're in charge of, the news we consume, the people we talk to, the friends we hang out with. And yet many times we just hang in there and soak up whatever is going on in that environment because we figure like, it doesn't really matter. PT and I were talking about masks and whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask, whatever. And I thought about that. And that's the moment when I had the insight to start sharing with him what I said. And I said to him, sweetie, I said, there's so much concern about people contracting this virus, being so afraid of this unseen virus and protecting ourselves with masks. But what we don't realize is that simply by talking to each other or being involved in conversations that are upsetting, we can start the wheels and the gears turning in our own minds that can make us crazy. It can fill us with fear. So my message to you, to shorten this a little bit, is to realize, to be as mindful and careful with yourself. Of course, take every precaution that you feel is warranted. But in addition to all those physical precautions that you're taking against the virus, whatever is going on, I want you to also take precautions on a more internal level. Perhaps there are people with whom you live who tend to be negative or tend to say things that frighten or upset you. Realize that despite the fact that it may not look like it, you have a choice. You have a choice if you want to stay in that conversation, if you want to excuse yourself, if you want to leave to go to another room, if you want to tell that person, hey, let's stop talking about this. I'm not comfortable here. So as much as you are exercising caution around your physical boundaries, think about your emotional boundaries, okay? So that's something that I want to share with you today, to make you aware that it's not about what you're eating, it's about what's eating you. I love you. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.